Welcome, everyone, to Coffee Chat. I'm going to actually drive the boat for the first time ever. So I'm here today with Christian Clausen. And today we're going to talk about really the benefits of getting a financial planner involved as opposed to, or in addition to, doing it yourself. So who better to have than our certified financial planner, Christian, here with us on why that can be of an added value to a client or to a person that maybe watching today that has a professional or someone who's doing it themselves. I guess just from a general perspective, what are just some of the basic reasons to maybe reach out or have a planner look at your situation if you've been doing it yourself?
I think most people consider themselves doing it themselves or really just portfolio managers. You know, they pick some stocks here and there and now they have a plan. Whereas I think in most cases it's just people don't know what they don't know. So when it comes down to planning, we want to look at insurance. We want to look at taxes. We want to look at retirement, investments, and insurance. And a lot of people are not licensed in, most of those areas. So you want to have a CFP, you want to have somebody with some certifications. You also want to have a team around you, whether that's an attorney, whether that's a CPA, whether that's a financial planner or a financial advisor. Mm-hmm. And somebody with an open mind that wants to learn. Everything is changing all the time. And, that's the reason, this is the, one of the best jobs in the world because, you're never going to get bored.
Right.
There's so many things to think about, so many things changing. And we've seen that like just this last year, everybody thinking about taxes and potential tax changes and so forth. What are some of the strategies that you should take advantage of now versus, that wasn't available a few years ago. And I think that's a lot of people not considering, how much to consider when you build your financial plan.
Yeah. No, you make a great point of not only, I think when people, and from my experience with clients that have done it themselves, they've only really done the stock picking themselves. Right. You almost, you made a good point there that, and it doesn't sound like you're asking someone to just quit doing that, but it's almost like, hey, you've done good on just picking stocks and bonds and tracking. But when it comes to a plan, there's the insurance side, the estate planning side. So it's almost like at the very least bring in a partner and not say, hey, hand over the keys, but there's added value to almost work together in some instances.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And it's like, we don't do everything, but we do have a lot of knowledge about all the areas. Mm-hmm. And then we partner up with the right people, whether that's your attorney or whether we use our attorney, or whether we use your CPA or our CPA. Yeah. We don't know everything, but we're very well versed in figuring out, what are some of the strategies we need to take advantage of.
Yeah. And from the stock perspective of doing it yourself, some people, it's a very wide range of do-it-yourselfers. There's the do-it-yourselfers that probably know everything from numbers and charts and everything, all the way to people who possibly, this is my question, based upon how the market's reacted, at the very basic, may not know a lot, but the past few years have been pretty easy to hit a home run.
Yeah, and you could argue that over the last 10 years, even since 2008 financial crisis that ended in, March of 2009 until March of 2020 was just up and up. It was just very few years. They were just slightly negative. Every other year, the market's up 13, 14, 15% on average every year. So whether you just picked an index and held on to it, or even if you got in there a little bit more detailed and picked individual stocks, it's been very hard, to not have double-digit return in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And we're not so much worried about that. What we're worried about is when the market turns on us and the market starts getting really bad. And, like not to bring up a lot of, current existing situations that's happening right now, but with inflation and with potential rise in interest rates, with very high valuation on all these different companies that seems to be ignored, that can be a little scary.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And you bring up a good point with recently things that have happened, and as volatile as things have been, having an extra person to just almost maybe even have an opinion on, hey, where's this market going? You can do all kind of articles as a DIY-er, Yahoo Finance. There's a lot out there to name a few. It's easy to click on and read an article or read a chart, but it's nice to have someone to say, hey, even if you have a play portfolio and the other portions, however it's set up,
Yeah.
it's nice to have someone to say, hey, what do you think? The market's down 10, 20%. What should we do? We saw that in March of 2020 when we had that big pullback.
Yeah.
Added that a planner also, and tell me if I'm wrong, would add kind of a second layer of reassurance on kind of what to do as well to work with you.
Well, it's also just understanding your risk. Like when you pick a stock, that it's easy to find a good stock and buy it. It's hard to realize what type of risk that stock has compared to the rest of the market. And I think even harder is figuring out when to sell it. Just because the market goes down, that's the absolute worst time to sell it. Having some reassurance, having somebody on your team that can work with you, and realizing that just because the market goes down or just because the stock goes down doesn't mean it's a bad stock.
Yeah. And for a lot of our clients that maybe not as sophisticated, but have like people that understand options and big charts, but just maybe have been doing it themselves.
Yeah.
All the way up until now, a lot of our clients, what I've seen, and sometimes it gives them a chance to take a step back, to not truly have to worry about the market. And I think, what would you? A planner helps out in that area too, don't they? Of taking that worry off of their plate.
Yeah, no, and we help people see the big picture. When they see their account goes down, they just think, okay, well, like everything is going down. But when we sit down with clients and we plan out the different assets, they are all uncorrelated to the market or very little correlated to the market. So from we want the client to see the bigger picture. And it's hard to see that sometimes when all you're looking at is your investment accounts.
Yeah.
When you have the planning in place, you have your protection, you have your insurance, you have your tax planning set up, you have your risk analysis in you're on the roller coaster of the market that you're comfortable with and not just what you're stuck with. You're going to feel a lot better about your portfolio and your situation and a lot more comfortable. And that's really what it is. Like our job as planners is just make sure that you always feel comfortable about what's going on. Not always happy because, market's going to go up and down, but not, be unhappy to a point where you sell everything.
Right.
Because that's really the one thing we're trying to avoid you doing.
Yeah. Especially when it gets to that point, because that's usually at the bottom or close to it.
Yeah, the absolute wrong time. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess ultimately it's been great to have you here today, but the best topic or the best takeaway from this is no matter what level of a DIY investor you are, whether you're very savvy or just starting it yourself and maybe had a few good years, it's not a bad idea maybe to come in and have a second opinion no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, so definitely we'll look forward to seeing you. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you, Christian, for being here today, and look forward to doing more of these with you.
Yep.
Bye, bud.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Can we have a beatbox show? Well, it's... No.